Hi, it's Ian Karyaga from Guru Yoga, and it's just Yoga Podcast. Welcome to today's episode, where we dive deep into a topic that every practitioner or yogi basically encounters at some point: pain and discomfort in yoga postures. So many of us have experienced that at some point, especially for beginners or even advanced in some cases. And whether you're a beginner or an experienced yogi, just understanding where pain comes from and how to work with it can transform your practice into a really powerful tool for healing and self discovery. I get it all the time. I don't do yoga because I'm flexible. Like, that's the number one, I guess, statement that people make. And I just return that with people don't do yoga because they're already flexible. Right? So, giving you a better understanding that it does take time. The practice for some people could be 80 years, it could be 20 years, it could be 3 years. Right? But let's just start by breaking down the three main types of pain experienced in yoga. So you may experience this yourself at some point in time, or continue to experience it. So you just give you a better understanding of what is occurring here. So one, you got muscular pain, right? This is the most common type of pain that everyone experiences, and that's basically just familiar to really this stretching sensation or a type of muscle fatigue, right? So you feel like postures like even downward facing dog, right? At the beginning, or dog facing down, as I call it, or even a forward fold, uttanasana, as the muscles start to lengthen beyond their usual range, tight through the shoulders, the biceps, a lot of pressure on the wrists, yeah? Not having the capacity to extend the legs to be completely straight. And then I get you to sit in those postures for, I don't know, 3, 4 minutes, possibly in some cases. And then that's when the mind starts to creep in and take over. That it's pain that you want to actually get out of all this suffering. So just explaining why it happens. Right? Tight or underused muscles really resist being stretched. But here's the key: breathe deeply to engage the body's relaxation response. So whenever I start a class, we do about 10 minutes to 15 minutes of meditation along with pranayama, which is yogic breathing, to help calm the nervous system down, help relax the muscles on a physical note, and then get the mind prepared to what is coming up next. Right? So, what we try to do here is really bring a type of relaxation to every moment of your practice after that meditation portion has begun. Right? So, this not only reduces the tension, but also allows for the muscles to soften over time. So if the class is half an hour, whatever it is, it allows you to just maintain a constant pace at relaxing the muscles, using the breath, using the mind, and using a little bit of consciousness is the key. So as we start to add gentle movements, and those movements are dynamic, before we start to do static holds, can really ease your body into the deeper stretches that lie ahead. Right? And you can go a little bit further by maintaining a little bit of consciousness and breathing a lot better. So the second pain that people suffer from in the yoga class is joint and ligament pain. Sometimes it's sharp, sometimes it's pinching, and it's generally around the knees, the wrists, or the spine, which indicates a type of stress response on the connective tissues. Right? Really common when it comes back down to the hip region, right? Like lotus or padmasana or pigeon pose, especially if you're forcing your body into a position it isn't ready for. So, how we layer the class is you start off with the breathing, the meditation, and then slowly start with gentle postures to just get the body to adjust and realign itself or align itself into deeper, stronger, more intense asanas. Right? So really the solution of that is, again, what I just mentioned, just adjusting the alignment and use props. So I've been using a block for however many years, at least 30 years, not due to the fact that it shows your level of ability or inability, but more so what your system is doing physiologically as well as skeletally. Right? You can't change bone. So having the block there is just in alleviating a lot of discomfort and just makes things more efficient for you. So blocks are great, straps are great, right? It doesn't force you to get into a certain posture if you're not ready for it. And really, you really want to never just push past your limits, right? That pain is in certain areas to signal that you need to modify in some way, not necessarily push through. There are times where you need to push through, and you'll know, right, from experience that you push through it because is that pain a reaction to what is occurring or is it a response? Right? And thirdly, emotional pain. So just what I mentioned just previously to this. This one really surprises a lot of people that certain postures, especially the hips, people hate the hips, but then they love the hips in regards to the postures and even heart openers. A lot of people have trouble breathing or maintaining a certain posture if it's relating to anahata or heart chakra, right? And some of these postures can trigger unexpected waves of emotion, right? Not knowing why you were feeling a certain way, and then a certain emotion comes up, then a thought comes up, maybe a memory it gets sparked. And why that occurs is the body holds a lot of unresolved experiences, right? Whether it's really linked to some sort of survival at some point that you've experienced in your life or and vulnerability where most people don't even want to go there, right? So when these feelings arise, you want to meet them with compassion, like really greet them to take it in, unpack what needs to be unpacked, and really maintaining a presence and consciousness with your pranayama, your breathing, and just allow these sensations to really surface without any judgment or expectation. We expect to have the class a certain way, or this is our intention or sankalpa, that we want the class to go this way because I'm making an intention, and then it's completely on the opposite side of the universe to what actually occurs. So it's coming back towards no judgment and no expectations for you for others. I've said it in class before, and I've said it again. All right. So now it's distinguishing between good pain and dangerous pain. Right? How do you tell the difference? Really, good pain feels like a dull stretch, and it just eases with steady breathing, just continually relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Dangerous pain, if you were to put it in that sense, is sometimes sharp or electric, right? And then it worsens with movement, and it possibly could signal some sort of injury, but then don't mistake it with hurt, right? So if your breathing becomes shallow or ragged, just back off a little bit and then modify accordingly, right? So again, it's getting back into preparing yourself mentally and emotionally before you go into something physically. So now this thing with the mind-body connection, right? It's really interesting because pain isn't purely physical, right? It's an influence how your mind interprets a sensation. So whether it's fear, stress, and attachment to outcomes really can amplify this discomfort. So I get people in a posture and they're sitting in for maybe 10, 20 seconds, and I modify it, not necessarily to make it more intense or harder, but just modify it so that it reaches a certain level of awareness and people get out of the posture, right? Because their mindset hasn't shifted. They're going back to pain, thinking, now reacting to the pain. How can I get out of this so the pain actually stops rather than observing the pain from a distance, going, yeah, it's there, right? It's sore, just like when you touch a bruise, for example, or if you have a cut on your arm or hand, and then just continuing with the process. Right? So if you start to shift your mindset to observe without judgment, it really helps soften your experience and just reframes pain in a different way as a really natural part of growth. Because that's what we're doing here, right? It's self-development, this yoga. And using your pranayama as a tool for pain management is one of the best things I can say you can do, right? Pranayama. It's really effective to manage any type of discomfort. And really the technique lies in how you can observe the breath in a relaxed state of being. Right. We try to lengthen the breath throughout the class to extend it regardless of what you're experiencing at the time. People tend to shorten it, so then the nervous system responds in a negative way in comparison to just maintaining the same breath regardless of what sensations, thoughts, emotions come up. Right? One thing we can do or practice with is a type of technique of breathing we call Ujjayi pranayam, which is the victorious breath translated from Sanskrit. So really it's about soothing the nervous system with this and promoting muscle release. And what we're doing is really just closing up the back of our throat, 2/3 of that, the epiglottis, and then just promoting an oceanic vibration, right? For those of you who are of age or that vintage, it's like Darth Vader's breathing. So it's going to heat the body up as you breathe in with the air that comes into the lungs, which will then slowly start to warm the body so you can stretch a little bit better, right? And Brahmanari, which is happy humming bee, and it is a humming sound to just redirect focus and ease any tension that is occurring. So you can put your fingers, your index finger, just to close off that flap of your ear, or you can just close your eyes and then put your hands over your eyes and do it. And this buzzing, like a bee, helps and assists in maintaining length of your breathing. Right? And then your focus is maintained on that pranayama. Right? So you can do it that way. Samavriti, it really balances the mind with equal length inhalations and exhalations. We try to get to about 15 to 20 seconds in some cases, so that by lengthening the breath, but not forcing it to draw in and out, it's like you're optimizing the inhalation, the exhalation at a calm, relaxed pace, as if you're just breathing in and out of a straw as softly as possible. So that's 3 ways you can use your breathing, your breath work, if you were to call it that, or we just call it pranayama, to manage any sort of discomfort or pain. So now to go back to pain and how we would see it as a portal for transformation, right? In yogic philosophy, it's not something that is to be avoided, right? It's a teacher. You're going to learn from it. So really, it reveals areas of unconscious tension. It reminds us of impermanence that doesn't last forever, right? It's temporary and somewhat illusory. So by knowing that, it really opens the door to a greater resilience of self-awareness, because we're really building resiliency, right? Things that you do on the mats or when you meditate, if you're lying down, it's giving you the ability to know that there's a stepping stone to the next level of your life. Right? So when you experience this pain, when you're on the mat next, just ask yourself, is this for growth or protection? Right? Is it trying to stay within the boundaries uh, of safety? You could think of it like that. Self-preservation or self-imprisonment. Right? And you have a play with that. And if you respond with curiosity and kindness, that you may discover that the discomfort is not really an obstacle, right? It's not an impediment. It's not a blockage. It's a way to get deeper healing. It's a gateway to opening up to possibly your vulnerability, right? To a greater level of consciousness. So that's the pain. And I think for most people, I'm just going to go with what postures create the most pain. And it was just said initially uh, earlier that pigeon pose, right? Because your hips relate to Svadhisthana, or the second chakra, which is just relates to the subconscious mind. That is massive for people in regards to releasing tension, right? As well as releasing their attachment to some sort of memory or trauma. And generally, you would hold these postures, like especially pigeon, from 5 to 6 minutes each side. And they have some videos that I have online on YouTube and on Patreon. So check into that to get you the proper alignment and technique on how to effectively do these postures. So that's pigeon. Hanumanasana, which is the splits, is a big one as well. I did that tonight in class. And honestly, that was the most sound effects, that had the most sound effects in class, right? So, and that one's, I guess people hate to do it, but then love to do it. And generally, I say the postures that you need the most are the ones you avoid. Right? That also has to do with your hips, right? A lot of that tension is stored in that area of the body, and some people are not willing to release it or confront it, right? So that's something there. And the feet. So sitting in hero pose, right? Vrasana or Vajrasana, where your feet are on the outside of your hips and you're either sitting on a block or sitting completely on the floor, right? That puts a lot of tension or brings tension to your ankles, your knees, and then your hips as well. So for most people, from what I've experienced, they're external rotators where the knees externally rotate out. And a posture with that is going to be Padmasana or lotus pose, is otherwise known as, or butterfly posture, where you're sitting up with the soles of feet touching and the knees wide. But then hero pose is the exact opposite. It's an internal rotator, right? So the hips rotate in and out, and this is a posture that accentuates the inward rotation of the hips. That is a massive awakener for some people. And when I do a restorative class or any class really, that's about a 2 to 3 minute hold, right? To get you to detach from the physical, because really, one thing with yoga is that it's about how you can detach from the physicality of yourself, right? We're too attached to the material, where we think certain things are us, right? Our thoughts are us, our emotions are us, our bodies us. No, they're yours, right? They're just the accumulation of various things, but again, you can manage them on the mat in meditation. So hopefully that helps, right? Thank you for joining me today. And be sure to subscribe and stay tuned on the YouTube, which is under Guru, right? As well as Patreon. So if you're going on there, head on to the Patreon site, .com/jackyogi. And with these insights, you can help elevate your practice, right? Both on and off the mat. So whether it's a physical thing, a mental thing, emotional thing, but really it's a spiritual thing and a personal development thing. I'm in Karyaga. Thank you for joining me. Guru Yoga. Namaste.